Good afternoon, all, and welcome to another edition of the Sal Greco Show. I'm your host, Sal Greco. If you can, please hit that like, share, subscribe button. If you're watching us on YouTube, if you're watching us on Rumble, please hit that like and Rumble button as well. And if you're watching us on X right now, streaming live, please hit that repost button. Share this out to all your friends, and some of your friends are in that low information bubble, and we need to get them informed. So if you could do that for us, I really appreciate it. Thanks for being here. Thanks for being in the comments. And unfortunately, I'm starting this off a little somber because that man right there, Hulk Hogan, just passed away. Hulk Hogan is, I'm going to be honest, he's my hero and he's my idol. I don't care what other people think. This man shaped my childhood, and it's like my childhood is finally over. I mean, Ozzy Osbourne passed away the day before. What's his name? Malcolm. I forgot his last name, but he was on the Huxtables. I watched. He was one of the Huxtables on the Cosby Show, which I watched religiously. He passed away. It's like three people in 3 days, like icons from the 80s are gone. But Hulk Hogan was America. He is America. Whether you liked him or I don't know, you don't like his comments. People said, "Oh, he made racist comments." Nothing I don't hear in a rap song every day that people say every day, and it was done in private. And here's a shot of Hulk Hogan coming out at UFC. I believe it was one of the last times. The last time he came out, and the reception he got was incredible. And I want to say he came out for Raw on that first Raw. That was on Netflix, WWE Raw, and people booing him in Los Angeles. And Los Angeles is a fickle town, but just to let people know, when they booed him, the next day all their homes were burning down. I don't know if you want to call that an act of God or divine intervention or a little wake-up call. To boo Hulk Hogan, and it's not about wrestling, it's un-American. I mean, the guy really shaped the lives of I'm not hundreds, millions of people all around the globe. He's an icon. He came out for Trump, which was a huge thing. And, he's a MAGA guy. He always was. He knew Trump in the 80s. And personally, to tell you the truth, and it's funny because we are going to be talking about MAGA here, but Donald Trump, who I didn't know, my uncle did business with his father. My family goes way back with the Trump family, but I didn't know who Donald Trump was until WrestleMania 4, which was 1988. I was 6 years old. I remember this big thing on television, and Hulk Hogan is sitting there next to Donald Trump, and he's talking about him and his interviews with him he's doing on air. And then Hulk Hogan said, I'm going to shake Trump Plaza down and all that stuff. And that's when I started to follow Donald Trump. So the whole MAGA thing, it's kind of connected back to Hulk Hogan, who was like a big Trump guy. And I remember it was WrestleMania 4, WrestleMania 5 at Trump Plaza, and in WrestleMania 7, he was in the front row in Los Angeles when Hulk Hogan at WrestleMania 7 beat Sergeant Slaughter. I don't know if anyone remembers it. He was the big American taking on the Iraqi traitor, Sergeant Slaughter, which ends up being a good friend of Hulk anyway. But And there was Donald Trump, and I believe Donald Trump Jr. was in the crowd with him. And it's just the symbol of him, a piece of America. It died today. It really did. Because this guy is, and I went out of my way to try to meet him, and I couldn't do it. I went to his store in Orlando. I tried. And I'm not saying if there was anyone I wanted to meet or anyone that I might be what you call, quote unquote, fanboy over, it would have been Hulk Hogan. I've seen a lot of people in my life. I met a lot of people. I've stopped a lot of people as an NYPD cop. But Hulk Hogan would have been the guy, and it's devastating to see this. Here's Ric Flair. Ric Flair gave a huge shout out. Everyone knows the Nature Boy, a living legend right now. And he's fighting cancer. I think he's been fighting off cancer. He just had his operation, and it's just a somber moment. And rest in peace to the greatest wrestler of all time. And there'll never be another Hulk Hogan. I don't care about The Rock. I don't care about Stone Cold. I don't even care. I love Roman Reigns. He cannot shine Hulk Hogan's boots. He's an original, and he introduced wrestling and made it mainstream. So a big shout out into the sky to Hulk Hogan. And my prayers to the family. I just sent a message to someone I know in his family now. So with that being said, without any further ado, I'm going to bring on my friend. He's the host of the War Room on InfoWars, and he's a real patriot, and that's Owen Shroyer.
It's great to be back here. Yeah, bit of a shocker there with Hulk Hogan. You said it all. There's nothing left to say. What
I know. I just saw a big thing too with Alex put out a big thing with him. I saw a video he put out. That was a great little thing he did on the show for him too. So it's just, I can't believe it all. And it's like a piece of America. Our childhood's gone, you know?
You know what? What's crazy about it too. You were kind of talking about this. It's like, you know, age only goes one way. You know, we're only getting older, and it's crazy to watch the people you grow up watching on TV, celebrating, you know, pretending to be, mimicking as a kid. And it's just that reminder that, life does come to an end.
Yeah. And it's life comes in a cycle, right? And it's like, literally, he's the guy that introduced me to Donald Trump, and he's the big topic today for us. And he was the guy. Like, it's a whole circle closing, because now the guy that brought me there is no longer here. And I think he's more Americana than Trump could be, because this guy was literally on everyone's television sets. That was not only nationwide, he was global. And he took WWF at that time and made it something that I don't even think Vince McMahon dreamt that was going to be that big. And now, what are we left with? I think Vince McMahon is like the last of the Mohicans. Vince McMahon and Flair.
Yeah, growing up in the 80s, the 90s, everybody watched WWF. It was Monday nights, it was Friday nights, everybody watched. And you know, you gotta tip your cap to the guys that built that legacy, like Hulk Hogan and Ric Flair, Vince McMahon. But that's a guy. You know, that's an example of a guy that leaves it all. He leaves it all on the field. He left it all on planet Earth. He's on to the next level, and he left everything he could here. So you got to celebrate that.
I know. And once again, you know, rest in peace to the my hero. He's my hero and my idol, Hulk Hogan. But moving along to what we both have been hot on lately. So just to give everybody a little bit of context, just so people understand. Way back in 2015 or so, when Trump was finally, I believe, started to run, he was going to run. It was guys like me and Owen, who started working for InfoWars and literally started Man on the Street concept. He literally got sexually assaulted in the street for doing it. He's been through it all, Owen. Owen also was at January 6th. He was there January 5th and 6th with myself. On the 5th, we were together. And that's the first time I saw Owen face to face. I started in 2015 with Trump. I actually went to Trump Plaza, Trump Tower, and tried to sign up to be on the campaign. I didn't know, though, that I can't do that as a cop. So I couldn't be on. I stopped, but I did. I was all in on it, right? So I think me and Owen would be classified as original MAGA. Oh, so as an OG MAGA, right? Because we were there from the beginning. But along the way, Owen, he actually got indicted for this nonsense in January 6th. And as much as they wanted to indict me for just being in a hotel room with Roger Stone, who's both our friend, I was destroyed in the police department, was harassed by the FBI and harassed by Congress. And I had to spend all my money, and I'm no longer employed. I'm still trying to recover. And I see the theme here because Owen also had to have legal fees, and he's been put through the ringer, right? And I don't see many in MAGA. And there he is. He was actually at a congressional hearing where others don't even do this. Owen was there more than once, okay, putting his freedom on the line because they took this, which was a Trump-controlled DOJ, and they were treating Owen as if he was like a national terrorist or something, a domestic terrorist. So we have a lot to say here only because we were there in the beginning, and then we're seeing all of this, and both of us don't have a regret about what Trump is doing. We will vote for him again. We voted for him 3 times. There's no regrets there. What we're talking about now is holding him accountable and the stuff that's going on right now. So for anyone who's going to start and say, oh, you guys, no, if anyone could speak, it would be guys like me and Owen that were in the front lines in the very beginning. We had the most to say. I know there's people that just showed up that think that now they run the show here. So with that being said now, Owen, what is your take on what's going on with the whole state of MAGA? And then we'll get into President Trump and this whole Epstein thing, who I think you've been like the leading voice on it. And everything you said has come true, despite all the nonsense you're getting from. It's basically shooting inside our own tents from our own people.
Well, and you know this because you've listened to my show. I look at my job at InfoWars or whenever I do my shows, my broadcast, or come on with you. I look at my job as I'm calling political play-by-play. So even if you're up there in New York, the Yankees are playing. Even if the Yankees are down, 4-0, you have to say the Yankees are down 4-0. That's what's happening. Doesn't mean that you like it. Doesn't mean that that's what the audience wants to hear, but that's the score of the game, so you have to call the score. It's the Yankees are down 4-0. So, sometimes you have bad news for your audience. Sometimes the team is losing. So that's kind of how I approach my job, and I think it's important to frame it in that context because, as you've said, there seems to be this idea that no, we should only say positive things about Donald Trump, or even this concept that somehow being a blind loyalist is the right thing to do, which I use the logic of, say you have a friend that has a girlfriend he wants to propose to that's been cheating on him, and she's been cheating. Well, what are you going to do? Are you going to tell your friend, hey, maybe you shouldn't marry her, she's been cheating on you? Or are you going to say, oh, great, man, and then not tell him? Well, the real friend would obviously tell him so that he doesn't get into a bad marriage. So that's just some context to kind of further frame this, as you're saying. What I see is after the Iran strikes, there has been, and it shows in the polls, there's been a bit of a kerfuffle within MAGA. And it's this feeling that the agenda that we voted for and what we thought MAGA would represent in the White House and in Washington, D.C., and it started to go sideways. And so this idea that somehow we have to prioritize whatever it is Netanyahu desires over the American people, I think is rubbing people the wrong way, and it seems to be blatant. It seems to be in our face. The Epstein Files is obviously another one that's been a complete PR disaster for Donald Trump, and then so bad that he even decides to go on to a Truth Social post and insult his base. And so really it's just been a complete disaster. And I think, I think people are kind of scratching their heads and just saying, well, what went wrong here? What went wrong where we're sitting here now 6 months into this administration and we're not really seeing the things we want to see. And now they've set themselves up in a position where if they don't arrest Barack Obama, I don't know what excuses are going to be made. And by the way, I don't expect Barack Obama to be arrested. Now, that's what I voted for. I voted for the deep state criminals to be arrested, and I believe Barack Obama committed crimes. And if nobody is above the law, then that should mean Barack Obama. But they'll argue presidential immunity, and I view this as just a distraction. I view this as a distraction. I view this as throwing red meat to the MAGA base. So, the one other thing before I kind of conclude the answer here that has been shocking to me, but it's been good perspective for me to gain, you start to understand why some of these leftists, and I would never be a leftist, I would never be a communist, but you start to understand why they start to feel the things they feel about the right wing, because we see people that are just like celebrating war, and we don't like that. We see people that are encouraging more war and signing bombs that are going to get dropped in a foreign country. And it's just like, boy, that's kind of sick. And then you see, when you comment on that, you see these right wingers attacking you, and you're like, wow, okay. So this is kind of what it feels like to be on the other side of that. So you kind of start to gain a little perspective. But, MAGA, as I see it, has turned into something else. The original people that were MAGA, like you and I, we're not really welcome into the new party anymore, this new MAGA coalition. And Trump has even said he's moved on from us. I still obviously want Trump to be successful. He's the president of the United States. We elected him with a very serious mandate. But where are the Doge cuts? Where are the deep state arrests? Where are the tax cuts? I mean, we can go on and on and on, and they can put out as much press as they want to tell us that, hey, everything's great, but we live in a real world, and we're just not seeing it. We're getting more involved in the Middle East. We're continuing to send foreign aid and military aid to Ukraine. That war was supposed to be over day one.
Yeah.
So we can sit here and talk about the good and the bad. The border is closed, and they're stopping a lot of the criminal activity that the open border industry was bringing into our country. So it's not like it's all bad, but I just feel like the way this Epstein thing has been handled, and then this Johnny-come-lately MAGA that wants to throw the original MAGA that's, had blood, sweat, and tears for this movement overboard. I don't know if people are ready to say that MAGA is dead, but certainly as it was originally conceived, it feels like at least this MAGA is not what it once was.
Yeah, I mean, I have here Lone Silencer had a great one. He says, the way Trump has been acting in the second term, you would think he was replaced or drugged, making terrible decisions compared to what he campaigned on. And I could feel what he's saying, because he literally, Owen, campaigned on, I'm going to be transparent about and the reason this whole Epstein thing, it wouldn't be so big if it's a lot of kind of like, and I'm going to get to Eric Adams, a lot of the Epstein thing is a self-inflicted wound. Like Dan Bongino and Kash Patel and even Pam Bondi were running around the surrogates screaming about this. Dan Bongino made a lot of money saying, I speak to sources. And for full disclosure, Dan Bongino, I don't know, I'm looking at his career. He was a cop for like a second, okay? He doesn't talk well about law. He doesn't know anything about NYPD. He was there for like a year and a half, I think, from what we could see. But they treat him like he's some kind of like NYPD, like he's on the Wall of Fame somewhere in One Police Plaza. And like people are like, who's that guy again? And then he spends his whole career as a podcaster, Owen, keep saying, I've got sources, I have this, I have that. He literally then has like Kyle Seraphin on, him and Kash Patel, who's a friend of ours. Kyle Seraphin is a former FBI agent who's suspended right now still. And they were telling him they were going to reinstate him. And they literally they completely ignore him now. They act like he doesn't exist. And they literally every day were talking about the people in Congress. They need to be held responsible for not releasing the Epstein. We need to know about this. And what we're looking at, okay, you guys are making a big deal about it. Pam Bondi said it was on her desk. And now you come to us, and now they got Ghislaine Maxwell, which is another thing. They're going to go talk to her. And then you got this distraction of Obama, because you're right. We wanted this about 10 years ago. It's like it's too late. And you and I know that's never going to happen, because in D.C., they protect their own. And we watched it happen. We watched it happen with you. I watched it happen. We both watched it happen with our friend Roger Stone. We both saw it happen with General Mike Flynn. What kind of trial is going to happen there, even if this is brought forward? And it's, I don't know what these surrogates are doing, but then what you were saying yesterday started resonating with me. Because on your show, you said the Epstein Files, right? So if they were there for all this term, because now, I don't know if we have the video of Mike Johnson talking about, we think it's a corrupted thing by Democrats. And okay, so if we could, I just want to play this for a second. I was watching this on your show actually yesterday. Let's play this.
Quickly weigh in on Epstein. Many are hoping to see more of those files released. There could be future court proceedings. Is there any reason that you have to believe that any documents were tampered with by so-called deep state operatives?
Look, it hasn't been my area that I've worked on. Unfortunately, I wish I knew more about it. It's been in the Department of Justice. One of our concerns is, of course, that it was, held in the hands of the DOJ leaders under the last administration, the Biden-Harris administration. And we all know how crooked and corrupt so many of those top officials were, how they engaged in lawfare against President Trump. And he has a concern, and I do as well, that things could have been doctored in those records. So that's part of the concern. But I'm for full transparency. We all are. Maximum transparency. The president is as well. There's no daylight between him and the Republicans in Congress. And we'll continue to advocate for that, to let the people see the records and draw the whatever conclusions they will.
So you see here with this, Owen, and it goes on. There's other things he's going to Now he wants to cut short the legislative session so they can't even vote on releasing these files. And I think what you were saying is true. It's like the play was if Democrats had those files, like he said, right, then there'd be a criminal investigation because they corrupted the files, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So none of this makes sense. And it's all a deflection out with Obama. We're going to treason. This is 10 years too late.
Well, you have to think logically. You have to think logically to reach conclusions that are realistic, right? And so if they're going to sit here, like you just said, if they're going to sit here and claim that the Epstein files were doctored, then that's a crime. So why aren't they calling for criminal investigations into who doctored them? And my logical answer would be because they're lying. Because they're lying about it. I don't know. I don't know what other conclusion you could reach. If they're accusing somebody of committing a crime in the last administration, then why aren't they going after it? Now, we can get in here and make jokes about the fact that anything that goes to Pam Bondi's desk pretty much disappears forever. It's like the Bermuda Triangle. You know, it ought to be studied. Maybe we should, everybody should take their trash to Pam Bondi's desk and we can clean up the streets. You know, the trash will just disappear. I'm not even sure Pam Bondi has a desk. How many criminal referrals have been sent to Pam Bondi's desk that we never hear of again? Letitia James is one. The organizers and the funders of all the anti-ICE violent terroristic rallies is another one. So you send something to Pam Bondi's desk for it to disappear, not to get something done. But again, you just try to think logically. If you're going to say, and you want us, this is what the administration expects us to believe. If you're going to say that somebody in the last administration, and I don't think either of us would put it past them. We think the Biden administration was corrupt. So I'm not sitting here saying, hey, they're not corrupt. They wouldn't do that. I'm just trying to think logically here. So if the Biden administration was so corrupt that they're going to go in and doctor Epstein files so that they can be used against Trump, well, then why wouldn't they doctor the Obama files? Why wouldn't they go in there and erase all the criminal activity from the Obama files that Tulsi Gabbard just produced receipts on yesterday? Which, by the way, and this is why it's so frustrating, this story is 8 years old. We've been covering this story since 2017.
Yep.
We've been demanding arrests of Obama since 2017. And you can even go back to President Trump when he was on Twitter. He was posting about Obama committing treason. He was posting images of Hillary Clinton and Barack Obama in a jail cell. That was 8 years ago, and nothing happened. And so they're kind of running the same gambit. And I guess it's the newcomers in MAGA that are, clapping like seals and saying, oh, my gosh, this is it. Look, he's going to do it. And you and I are sitting here and we're like, hey, we've already been on this ride, brother.
Mm-hmm.
We literally have already been on this ride. We've already taken this right turn. We've already taken this slope. We've already gone through this loop. And so it's like, we're not really sitting here excited about it because we've already seen it and nothing has gotten done. But there's just no logical sense to it. If they're going to doctor the Epstein files, then they would have doctored the Obama files to clear their name. And I would also argue if they were going to doctor the Epstein files to make Trump look bad, then why didn't they use it on the campaign? Why didn't they use it in the 2024 campaign? So I just don't buy it. And so now what are we dealing with? And this is where I think MAGA is we're at this intersection and we've had a really bad car crash and maybe the whole vehicle is totaled at this point. I have no other conclusion to reach except that I'm being lied to. And I don't like being lied to. I don't. And I would rather have President Trump come out here, and I've talked about this with some of my other political friends, and I don't know if you would feel the same. My guess is you would. I would rather have President Trump come out and just say, hey, look, yeah, I ran around with Epstein in the 80s and 90s. I was with a lot of beautiful women. They were young, but I didn't do anything illegal. I didn't know about Epstein with his sex trafficking. I didn't know about his pedophilia. I didn't know about this stuff. I hung out at beauty pageants. I hung out at billionaire parties. He was there. We both liked beautiful women. We liked watching beautiful women, talking about beautiful women, sleeping with beautiful women. And so, yeah, I was a billionaire playboy. He's the grab him by the pussy guy. We'll get over that. We're not going to sit here and get dragged through the mud about Donald Trump liking beautiful women. But instead, it just goes the complete opposite direction and rubs us all the wrong way because we just feel like we're being lied to. So logically, what they're saying about the Epstein files doesn't make any sense. And like you said, it really is a self-inflicted wound. Bongino's been talking about it for years. Kash Patel has been talking about it for years. You can go back and see Pam Bondi on Fox News. That's right, Pam Bondi on Fox News. A big surprise to everybody. You can see Pam Bondi on Fox News in 2021 saying that Merrick Garland was covering up the Epstein files. She accused him of that in 2021. And so now here we are. So who's covering it up now? So the whole thing has just been a complete debacle. It didn't have to go this way. And now it looks even worse where, like you said, they're canceling, they're shutting down Congress early so that they can't take a vote to the floor of a bill to release the Epstein files. And it might be happening right now. Trump's former attorney, now the deputy director at the DOJ, is having a sit-down interview with Maxwell in her Florida prison. And it's just like, what the hell is going on? What deals are being made now to try to correct this ship that's not going to be corrected? And I'll take it one step further here. What I think is going on, whoever has all the Epstein Trump file, whatever, it does appear that somebody has a Trump Epstein file. And so we're slowly getting these drips, right? Now, again, it's important to remember, this didn't happen on the campaign. This did not happen in 2024. It didn't even happen in 2016. So whoever has this information was not trying to use it in an election cycle, but is now trying to use it that Trump is president. So you see the letter to Epstein, you see the illustration, now you see new videos, new photos, him at weddings, him at other beauty pageants and fashion shows. Somebody's trickling this out. Somebody's decided, okay, we're rolling with the Trump Epstein file now. We're going to start dripping this stuff. And I guess my conspiracy theory is, if you ask why, because people will just say, oh, well, it's just the normal attacks on Trump. No, it's not. No, it's not. Timing is very important when you have to do political analysis. Timing is almost everything. So you have to ask, why now? Why are they doing it now? Why didn't they do it in any of the 3 campaign cycles that Trump was in? Why are they doing it now? So I think it's coming. I think it's probably coming from a foreign interest, is what I think. I don't think whatever salty, sordid materials that Epstein had or was recording, blackmail materials, I don't think those exist in the United States. I think those exist either with MI6 or with Mossad. And I think whoever has the Trump Epstein file is now doing this drip to try and get Trump as the president to do something else. There's something going on behind the scenes. Maybe it's another war in the Middle East. Maybe it's dropping another bomb on Iran. But that's what I think is going on. I think somebody is slowly trickling this stuff out to get to Trump and to get him to do something that's against his instincts, against his base, against his campaign promises. And we're just sitting here like, hey, we're trying to hold the president accountable, the president that we voted for 3 times, the president that we were out in the streets fighting for. We're just trying to hold him accountable. And it's like, wow, we're the bad guys now.
Yeah, I could say, like, here, this is unbelievable what happened here. So you are right. Speaking to ABC, Maxwell's appellate lawyer, David Marcus, said, we're looking forward to a productive day. This is very odd that this just happened out of the blue. It just happened now, actually. They're going to go talk to Ghislaine Mack. I also read that Congress is going to subpoena Bill and Hillary Clinton, which, look, I don't know how far reaching this is going to go, because there's a lot more people other than Trump who, I mean, Roger's been on record, and Roger, like, is attached to the hip with Trump, especially during those years, and said he never did anything like that with Epstein. He went. There is a record. When they say he's in the files now, I don't know if they mean he went on the plane one time, and at one time he was with his family because he couldn't use his plane. He went to Palm Beach. Rogers explained this over and over again. Other than that, he cooperated with the FBI to bring Epstein down in Florida. So I don't know to the extent of, if I think like you, if this was anything damaging, because I've been seeing these, and there it is, right? House panel Wednesday voted in favor of subpoenaing former President Bill Clinton and former Secretary of State Hillary Clinton. So they're gonna subpoena them for this. Ghislaine Maxwell and Jeffrey Epstein. That would be epic to see those two in front of Congress. Because,
but again, you have to ask why. Why now? Like, why are they doing this now? This wasn't a campaign issue. This isn't. I mean, yeah, we want the Clintons that we believe are corrupt to face justice. Nobody is above the law. But again, it's just like to us, we just sit here and say, you're trying to distract us, right? You're trying to throw us red meat. You're trying to distract us with this shiny object. And I understand. I get it, man. I understand why this is a very discomforting time for MAGA, and I understand why a lot of people that might be new to politics really can't deal with the discomfort zone, or they just kind of look at it like a sporting event, right? And so it's just, I'm always going to wear the jersey, I'm always going to wear the hat, I'm always going to cheer them on no matter what. And the people that don't view politics that way are the ones that get attacked. But I mean, again, this is just the reality of the situation. And I would just frame it to you in a question. Have you seen anybody else in more photos and videos with Jeffrey Epstein than Donald Trump? Have you seen any other politician?
No, the only one.
Exactly. I mean, that's just a fact. And again, I'm not accusing Donald Trump of doing anything illegal. I don't think he was doing anything illegal. I'd like to say he has plausible deniability on the whole thing, and he was just into beautiful women. I don't blame him. He was a billionaire playboy. We all know that. He dated supermodels. He married supermodels. He impregnated supermodels. Like, there's no secrets here, but we have to deal with reality. And so the reality is, yeah, Trump and Epstein were friends. And pretending that didn't exist, or pretending like releasing the Epstein Files wasn't part of the campaign, it doesn't go over well for us, because we know it was. And we don't like being lied to, and we're not going to play along with lies.
Yeah. And to tie this all together, and it is Joel Ramirez said only 6 months into disappointed Owen. We have 3.5 more years of disappointment. I hope not. But to tie this all together, when you mentioned Ghislaine Maxwell, there's a little side note here, right? So Steve Bannon was he was running around with Jeffrey Epstein in those last years before he passed away. He went to Paris with him. He was doing some kind of document, some secret documentary. We only saw a 5-minute clip of it. We don't know what happened with the footage, right? So he was running around with him. And then we know what happened with Steve, and we know what, Epstein ended up getting indicted. And then there's more to this. So here's a crazy tie. Ghislaine Maxwell then ends up getting indicted, and then he gets found guilty. Her case file right now, the reason they can't pull it up is because it's technically still active and that she's appealing. So we're going to throw Eric Adams into this little mix now. Eric Adams didn't know Donald Trump from a hole in the wall. He's a total socialist, criminal man who his whole MO, he wanted a sanctuary city in New York City. He's a mayor for elitists and illegal immigrants. He has a corrupt administration. I mean, I could just go on and on about all that stuff. But he wanted, when Trump had his trial, Eric Adams comes out and says, I'm going to put Trump in jail. He called him a white supremacist. He called his kids a white supremacist. And then when things got rough and he got indicted, all of a sudden he was going to go to the Young Republican Club. And that didn't happen because that day, Ingrid Lewis Martin ends up getting indicted. So Bannon goes up and he starts talking about Eric Adams, blah, 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 he's a great mayor, whatever he said. But Bannon is a tie to one thing. He's obviously got this tie to Epstein. Ghislaine Maxwell, lawyer for that appeal, is a guy by the name of Artie Aidala. And Artie Aidala is also the lawyer for Steve Bannon and the Ingrid Lewis Martin. There it is right there. He's very chummy with Eric Adams. He's also Maxwell's lawyer, Steve Bannon's lawyer, and Bannon's attached to Epstein as well. And then you have this Eric Adams on the side where his entire case, which Owen, I could tell you behind the scenes, there was a lot of work from a lot of people to get this man indicted. And Emil Bove, and there is Artie Aidala, Emil Bove, who is the only reason he was put there by Boris Epstein, who was only there because he's Steve Bannon's friend and Eric Trump's friend, and this guy, Todd Blanche, are from the Bannon block. They came into prominence through his show. And so, and it all ties back to Eric Adams, who, by the way, is very chummy with another guy who's like this, P. Diddy. And all these cases are where? Southern District of New York. So, and then we had Comey's daughter in charge of this stuff. I find this to be quite unique and very troubling how this whole circle, and Trump is in the middle of it, in that he let Eric Adams off the hook. And I think that is where you're going to, there's a lot of stuff there. I don't know why he really did it. There's crypto, there's a lot of things that are going on behind the scenes, but he's also a central figure in this because of his connections. His lawyer, Alex Spiro. So I don't know what your take is on it. It's almost mind-blowing to think that whole thing there. There's something here, and I think everything else has become a distraction with this Obama thing. And we're going to subpoena Clinton. I want to know what's going on here, because it's a little circle of people, and they seem to be attached to not only Eric, but also Trump somehow. And then we have a mystery documentary that never was aired, and the guy ends up dying like a couple of weeks after this. I find this bizarre.
Well, Jeffrey Epstein's brother, Mark Epstein, is demanding the release of 15 hours of footage that Bannon shot. I think Bannon might have even teased that he's considering doing that. So who knows what will come of that, or if there'll be any relevance there. You know, when you talk about these little cliques and these little political circles, it's amazing when you dig into this stuff, how they really do seem to be. It's like everybody's connected to someone else in D.C. It's just some way, shape, or form. I mean, even with this Epstein situation, you look at who Trump has surrounded himself with. They all have connections to Epstein, and they all have connections to the original Epstein case. And again, I get why this is discomforting, but it's just a fact. It was Bill Barr's father that brought Epstein into the elite world when he was the headmaster at the university that gave Epstein a job, when Epstein had no academic experience, no degrees, and he brings him in. Then he gets into the finance world. He has no experience in the finance world. He doesn't have any accolades that he can point to as to why billionaires should be giving him all of this money. You look at Kavanaugh, who's on the Supreme Court. He was at the law firm that was handling Epstein's sweetheart deal in the Florida case. I mean, it just, the connections just go on and on and on. And so, yeah, you start to wonder what's going on. But you know, you kind of draw back to the American people and you ask, well, what are they thinking? What are they seeing? They see two cases with Epstein and Diddy where you have very high-profile, influential, rich, powerful people that essentially surround themselves with some of the most influential, rich, powerful people in the world. And what do they have in common? Well, apparently they like to videotape everything that happens in their house. Okay. Apparently they have their entire house bugged and wired for video recording and audio recording. Now, personally, I don't know anyone else that does that. Okay. I have a security system in my home. I have security cameras in my home. I don't record everything that happens inside of my home. Apparently Epstein was into that. Apparently Diddy was doing that at these parties. So we hear that and we just think, you know, what's going on here? And we have other whistleblowers that have come out and talked about the rap industry and how people will get blackmailed by these production labels, and they'll say, hey, you know, we got a video of what you did last night at that party. Not a big deal. Doesn't have to be a problem for anybody, but you're signing with us now. You're signing with us, and everything will be fine. Just sign with us, and it'll be fine. And you think about, you know, whatever Epstein was up to on his island or at his mansions where he had these recordings. So we just see this and we say, really? P. Diddy got charged with hiring a hooker? That's it? That's what we have here? He just hired a hooker? Really? Maxwell and Epstein were trafficking minors to who? Right? To nobody? Yeah. It was just to Epstein. Epstein was just down there raping people all day long and filming it for his own pleasure. You know, that's what they're telling us to believe. That's what they're asking us to believe. And critical thinkers like us don't believe it.
We know that there's something. I'm telling you, we know because we've been through the ringer on top of it. And me as a cop, I'm telling you, I remember calling Roger and I said, this P. Diddy case is a dud. And I'll tell you why. I said, it's interesting what's going on here. But how do you charge someone as being a co-conspirator when there's no other co-conspirators? And they did the same thing with Ghislaine Maxwell. They did the exact same thing. And I would venture to say they were probably going to do the same thing with Jeffrey Epstein. So all three cases who ended up, and here's the crazy part here, Owen, too. P. Diddy's case, the only reason Comey, the daughter, ended up with that case is because the original prosecutor was the one from the Eric Adams case. And in a self-inflicted wound, it was Trump that ordered Bove to go over there and demand them to sign these unethical letters, because you can't drop a case without merit. There's no merit to drop the case other than he's going to help me with immigration or whatever else, a crypto scam, whatever they're involved in, Trump, his family, and Eric. But whatever it is, there's no merit to dropping that case. So then, because he did that, the 7 prosecutors that resigned, The one that had it, I believe his name is Scotton, who is a Republican, may I add, who clerked, I believe, for Scalia, or his boss did. He was a military veteran. That was his case. And because he resigned from the DOJ, the case ends up going to Ms. Comey. So another.
And what are the odds? What are, again, people, you can't ask me to believe things that are unbelievable. And so what are the odds that Maureen Comey is going to get the Maxwell Epstein case and the Diddy case? And then after she virtually spikes the cases, I mean, after she virtually gives them a little slap on the wrist and says, okay, Diddy just hired a hooker from a different state. That's it. That's all he did. He just hired a hooker from a different state. That's what this was all about. That's what all the fanfare was about. Okay. Maxwell trafficked minors to nobody. To nobody. She was trafficking minors, running a sex trafficking ring to nobody, except I guess Epstein, who liked to get massages. That's it. That's what they're. So what are the odds? And what timing? After Maureen Comey spikes both of these cases, now she's fired. Now she's out. The job is done, Sal. The job is done. She did it. She made sure that the truth about the Epstein-Maxwell phenomenon never came out. She made sure that the truth about the Diddy phenomenon never came out in court. She did it. She did her job, and then she got told she's fired. So I look at that and I say, that's the deep state. That's the corrupt justice system saying, hey, you have a job, and that's to spike these cases, and then we're going to fire you. And she did her job, and now she's fired. And that's what it looks like to me.
When you said this, is exactly what I was thinking. What you most of the time what I hear on your show is exactly what I'm doing. We're like in tune. We're like, we don't need to speak. We just, whatever, we know it, right? That is exactly what they did. She should have been fired a long time ago. I remember Trump even coming in was screaming about her, right? Yet she remained there, and they know she had this major case, but that would take what? Because even for her to get that case with P. Diddy, that case belonged to the Eric Adams prosecutors. Oh, yeah, we got rid of those guys first. So, and it all ties in because Adams and P. Diddy are actually buddies, and it would have been a lot that could have came out in those trials because I've been hearing rumors about those freak-offs and who's been attending them for quite a while, from the NYPD all the way to Eric and other people. So he's a whole nother subject, but again, he kind of wraps into this Epstein circle through lawyers and connections and all this stuff, because it seems like they're all in a big club and we're not.
Well, think about it like this. Okay, maybe their logic is we don't want to fire Comey right now because it'll look bad. Okay, so let's say they're thinking about the optics of the situation, and they're thinking if we fire Comey in the middle of whatever these cases are, it'll be a bad look. It'll make us look bad. So okay, we have to keep her around. So if we're talking about bad optics, and that's something we're considering here, okay, I can follow that train of thought. But then why wouldn't that same train of thought, why wouldn't that same logic apply to what they're doing now with the Epstein Files? Every single thing they've done has been bad optics. So if I'm going to sit here and believe that, hey, we're thinking about bad optics with the Comey thing, okay, fine. Well, why aren't we thinking about bad optics with the Epstein thing? If you're somebody that's going to be thinking consistently with the same logic, then you have to show the results, and the results have to remain consistent with the same logic, and they're not. They're just simply not.
I agree. The whole thing here is and to go back to Eric Adams, because I know you don't know much about this. So Eric Adams being the mayor, and they dropped this case, right? But just this morning, The City, which is a publication in New York, released this article, and it showed that Eric Adams, who was indicted not for Turkish airline upgrades, the way Eric Trump was saying, he got indicted because he took $10 million in public matching funds. What he did is he submitted $10 million, I believe, in total in straw donations. And what's a straw donation? In New York City, if you're a resident, it's 8 to 1. $8. It's $8 for every $1, I believe you put in. It's up to $250. So he had $10 million worth of taxpayer money. And that's what he got indicted for. He stole from the taxpayers on top of other things that he did with Turkey and all these foreign countries. So, but they said that he was doing this also into his campaign. this campaign he has now, currently. So when they dump this case, Owen, you mess up all these other cases that involve his police department. There were people that pled guilty already. There were people that he threatened. They were going to charge him with, threatening a witness. And then they dropped this case for the reasons we already stated. And now they did a little research. In the month after they officially dropped this case, Owen, here he is already soliciting more straw donations yet again, Owen. He was taking people from a company called All Star. And this company gave him all kinds of donations, and these people don't even know who they donated to, why, and it wasn't even them. And then to make matters worse, Owen,
think about
here contributions, New York City, and then there's out of New York City. He went to a crypto conference, Owen, in Las Vegas, and the guy that was his buddy, who's a mega donor to him, which is a business partner of Brock Pierce, this guy Duplessis, he ends up extorting some guy from Italy, and the reason he ended up extorting him and brought him to his place in Manhattan, it was NYPD security, the security detail for Eric Adams, that brought this guy to this place. And they got indicted, and that case is going on right now. Then he takes
strange. It's funny that this hasn't become a bigger story right now on the campaign. Obviously, Trump and Adams cut some deal. Whatever,
which is unbelievable. He's a Democrat.
Yeah. Whatever deal that is, we may never know. And I think that you're probably the closest to revealing the truth here as anybody. It is strange that this hasn't become a bigger story on the campaign trail. Maybe that's because Mamdani isn't really on an attack campaign right now, and Sliwa. I don't know. Sliwa is a good guy. I think he's got a good heart, but he's not. He doesn't have what it takes. And Cuomo's obviously trying to extort somebody. That's why he's sticking around. He just wants somebody to pay him off, I guess, so that he can get out of the race. I don't know why else he would be in there. But, here's, because I just look at all the different angles. It shows me now how who's ever doing all this politicking inside of the Trump circles, they're not really having success. I mean, they're not really having success. I think Eric Adams is going to lose. I don't think Eric Adams is going to win this election. I think that Mamdani is going to win. And so now you're looking at this and you're saying, whatever deal that you cut with Eric Adams and whatever this new buddy thing is that strategically you wanted to have with the mayor of New York City, and I'll even sit back and I'll say, hey, fine. You have a strategy to doing this. There's a reason you want the mayor of New York City with you now. Fine, whatever. I'll put my hands up and say, you got a strategy to it. I get it. Okay. I'll leave that one alone. I'll let the New Yorkers deal with that. But if he loses, and now you're sitting here saying, what are we doing? Our strategy isn't even working. We're making deals and then we're not even getting the desired results.
Nope.
And so you kind of start to apply that with some of the other stuff, and you're just sitting here like, man, who's ever making some of these political decisions, who's ever politicking internally inside of this Trump administration, you're starting to look at the results and you're just saying, this is just, you're not even getting good results. It's like, if you're going to do bad stuff but get good results, at least I'll sit here and say, fine, whatever, you got good results. They're not even getting good results. And I see like one example where they probably did get the desired result was with the Iran strikes. And I think that this is why, it's hard for President Trump to communicate with people honestly, because he's making deals and doing deals behind the scenes to get a desired result that he can't tell us. Like with the Iran strikes, I think that the reason he's getting pissed off at people saying that they didn't destroy the base, they didn't destroy the nuclear site, is because he doesn't want a further war. So he's saying, look, stop saying it's not destroyed, because if it's not destroyed, we got to go back in. If it's not destroyed, we got to go round 2 for strikes. And then we got to go in, maybe boots. So it's just like, he's like, hey, the strategy here is we blew it up. Now leave it alone. So it's like, I get it, but the people can't really, it's like, how does Trump come out and say, look, maybe we destroyed the site, maybe we didn't. The purpose of this is so that we don't get involved in another regime change war. So I had to give Israel the strikes. They wouldn't leave me alone. We had to destroy the nuclear facilities. They wouldn't leave us alone, so we did it. Now leave us alone. And if you're going to say that we didn't destroy it and you're going to publish that everywhere, then we have to go back, and that's not what we want to do. So it's like I kind of understand what I think the president is doing, and maybe there's some stuff going on behind the scenes with the Epstein files, but it's just like, if you're not going to get the desired results, then, and you're going to have bad communication, bad PR, this is what you get. You got your approval rating tanking. You've lost the youth. The youth is abandoning MAGA. You know, they're jumping ship fast. And now politically, you just look and say, okay, well, you're going to lose the midterms. Trump's going to get impeached. And the Democrats that had no political ground to stand on, now they can stand on the anti-war ground. Now they can stand on the Epstein Files ground. I mean, who would have, you know, it's like, what bizarro world are we in?
Yeah.
But that's where this is going.
And you know what would be the star witness at the impeachment hearing? That guy right there, Eric Adams. Because the quid pro quo, who Trump said he helped him out. He did a impromptu interview about alligator Alcatraz and mentions that. Oh, I helped him out, Eric. He's a good guy, and he's like soft endorsing him. And I'm like, what is he doing? That will be used in any impeachment hearing. And for one last thing on that guy's in the picture with there. That's a guy named Tony Delgado. Here in Fort Lauderdale, where I live, the Fort Lauderdale Young Republicans who are unsanctioned, like they're not part of the Florida, like GOP, a Young Republican group, they held a fundraiser for this guy down here. Now, they know Roger and me, and this guy terminated me because I'm a MAGA guy. You're letting this guy come in who's last in the polls, and you have all these crypto and real estate guys down here who he's flooded with in New York State, donating money to him. A lot of that money you saw, $3 million, came out of these two fundraisers from Vegas and Florida. And I'm like, what world are we living in? Because now this guy Tony Delgado on internet said he's big with this Epstein thing now and said, oh, now I'm an independent. Well, first he was a Republican who ran this event, and now he's an independent who's pro Eric Adams, I guess. Like, this is the MAGA I'm talking about, Owen. You and I are originals, and then we have this group of people having fundraising.
It's become the establishment. It's become the establishment, and we're anti-establishment type guys. So, you know, that's fine. I don't mind not being involved in the establishment.
No, I think you've done one hell of a job being on the outside. If you want to say you're a fringe guy, so be it, because you've been calling balls and strikes, which is what I do, and that's what gets you vilified in this group. I mean, some people, I've said it, they're in a cult. You know, I see this trust the plan stuff. I'm like, I'm not even going to go there with some of these people, but they're clearly, you know, you got to like get them out of that trance or whatever it is, get the clock out of their face, because you got to wake up to the reality. So in closing, I guess, Owen, what do you see in the future for the country, MAGA, and I don't know, how would you grade Trump so far and what he's been 6 months in? And we have a little bit of a mess. Some things are good, though.
Well, if you're grading on a curve, which I think you kind of have to do in politics, because if you weren't, everybody would get an F. I don't know if there's any politician that wouldn't get an F, except maybe like a Thomas Massie. It's like Trump attacks Massie, but then endorses Lindsey Graham, and you're just like, what the hell, man? So every politician probably gets an F, but I would say grading on a curve, maybe Trump gets a C. He's kind of just like everyone else now, you know. He's kind of just like a standard president now. It doesn't seem like there's going to be anything too special coming out of this administration. I think that our best case scenario is we have a strong border and we secure the border, which will be good, and stop that racket. And then maybe we get a good economy. I think that would be the second thing that I think we can legitimately hope for, is we get a good economy, a better economy at least. And maybe, you know, and maybe that'll be good enough to keep Republicans popular enough to at least compete in the midterms. But I just see right now and it sucks, man, because we went through so much and Trump went through so much. You know, we went through it all together.
Mm-hmm.
And so it does kind of hurt a little bit to see where things are going. But to me, it's just it's lost its luster. You know, it's lost its shine. It's feels like an old toy that you've grown out of, and you're just not interested in anymore. And so I think politically, power shifts to the Democrats in the midterms. Presidential election is still probably 2028 too far away to maybe get into that. But, you know, I think that's where this trends. I think the power shift goes back to the left, and the MAGA coalition and this powerful populist, nationalist, common sense coalition that got Trump in with the popular vote is it's broken. It's broken. I don't know if you can repair it. I don't know if there'll be another candidate that can kind of bring it back together or stitch it back together or have something similar. But it feels like we're back to politics as normal is kind of what I'm saying. It just feels like we're back to politics as normal. And, any special things that we thought we were going to get out of this or as we might say it, saving our country. I'm not so sure. I'm not so sure that's the case anymore. And I'm kind of leaning on to the other side that, we're not going to save the country like we anticipated or what we wanted. And the coalition that could have defeated the left, I think permanently, politically, is it's on the ropes, and it might be out on the 10 count.
And the worst part here, Owen, you said it, is we probably had this where we were about to pretty much, we could have gone on a run and put us to bed, at least the next election and the midterms, and instead too many self-inflicted wounds have come in now, and you're now playing defense, like Stone's rules, attack, never defend. That was Roger's style. That's right. Because now it seems like Trump is always defending, and that's not where you want to be. And it's like, okay, well, if that's the future, I don't see how we're going to take this country back or do anything that was promised because we're too busy defending our own self-inflicted wounds here. And that's what it feels like. I agree giving him a C. And I guess the last question I'd have for you is, do you think we'll ever see anything on Epstein, anything of relevance on this whole thing that they were screaming about for years and now don't even want to broach the subject?
There's so much public pressure that you feel like something has to give. The public is not going to give up. And ironically, if it's Democrats that end up forcing the release, then maybe that's the best chance that we have. But I guess aside from whatever hopes or how I think it might shake out, I don't think the files exist insofar as there's anybody in the U.S. government that could even give it to us. I don't think they're here anymore. I think that whatever was ever here, if there was anything ever here, it's gone. It's been destroyed. I anticipate whatever Epstein files there are, whatever blackmail troves that there are, I don't think they're here. They might be in a foreign country that we know of. They might be in a place that nobody knows of. So I think because of that, we're never going to get the real story. That's how I see it. I don't think we're ever going to get the real story, but there's enough circumstantial evidence, I think, for us to put together a pretty clear picture of who Jeffrey Epstein was and what he was doing. But as far as that closure moment where we get to see what it really was all about, and we get to see the intelligence agencies that he was working with and what he was up to in regards to that relationship, I think we'll probably never get that closure.
That's a shame. And I'm starting to think what you said, going back to yesterday when you said we're thinking about where the files are or how these things are being dropped. Somebody has the files. Roger put the best point out there. Roger says those files disappeared a long time ago. So who's to say that somebody that was in the federal government didn't take the files out and then hand them to someone else, or is the one leaking this? Because that's what I'm thinking. An intelligence asset has the real files. They took them because if they're going to say we don't have one, they have a copy, and they're letting out things just on Trump. I mean, they probably have on everyone, but they're specifically doing this kind of like what you said. It's an operation now. It's an op to get him compromised. And now you start to wonder, is Trump compromised? That's the next thing that we got to worry about.
It's unfortunate, but it seems to be the real case we're dealing with.
That's what I see. And one last comment here from Tom Joyce, who's a retired NYPD lieutenant and has a show here on my network. It says Gorka, Kirk, and many other MAGAs telling us to trust what they are doing and move on is not working. We are behind the man and his agenda, but we are not lemmings and sycophants. And I think that best describes not only myself, but Owen, who's really a patriot. And I admire Owen. You could talk to Roger about it all the time. I talk about you all the time. I admire you. And I think you're a hero. You're an unsung hero because people like to push it away. Oh, January 6th. But you went through hell. You survived. And it's a real shame that they don't, the MAGA world doesn't embrace you, much like they don't want to embrace me. But you're always good in my book, Owen.
I appreciate those kind words. And, I don't do what I do to be accepted or popular. So it is what it is when you're a truth teller in the world of politics. You're kind of always going to have that outside looking in. But I will say this for people listening: there are a lot more people like us inside the system in D.C. now than you realize. But they're a little hesitant. They're a little, I don't want to say scared like they're cowards, but they know there's consequences for thinking and talking like us. So I hope that we can kind of get through this and at least have a country on the other side, and we'll have better people in 4 years, in 8 years. Because more people are paying attention to politics, more people are caring about the future of the country than ever before. So it kind of just becomes a race against time of when can we get the good guys in to save things. And I'll say this in closing: I think it's incredible what you do, because I can't believe that right now you're hosting the Sal Greco Show, and then later tonight you're going to be Roman Reigns putting somebody through a table, and so it's just amazing. It's just amazing how you're able to do that, man. I don't think anybody's been able to do a political talk show and go do a WWE event in the same day. Only Sal/Roman could do that.
And I lost my wise man. I lost my wise man now in WWE. So I got to find a new wise man. Owen, it's always great to have you here. I'd like for you to come down to Florida. I believe in September, late September, we start the highlight season again. So Friday
highlight.
night.
Okay.
Yeah. You got to visit Highlight. We can make a whole production about it. You can have it on the show, on the War Room. You have a whole thing. I was at Highlight. It'd be a big thing. I'll bring you there. So you got to come and see it at least one time. And by the way, the hero, the one person, and they've had people like Lawrence Taylor there, and UD, who used to play for the Miami Heat, Hector Lombard, a couple other big basketball players, Jorge Masvidal. The one man that got the biggest ovation there was, I'm pretty sure you know who it was, where the people literally came down from the stands, and that was the one and only Roger Stone.
Oh, incredible.
The hero of Miami. I'm telling you.
Incredible.
It was incredible having him there. But Owen, people could check you out on X, right? Owen Shroyer 1776.
Yeah, good place to follow. You can find my show there, and anything else I'm up to, I usually post it there on X.
There you go. And also, don't forget to check out the War Room. It's on at 4 p.m. Eastern every day, 5 days a week, Monday to Fridays. I watch it religiously. So, Owen, and it's great to have you. I can't wait to at least see you eventually. I tell you, I want to keep that highlight thing open because I think you'd love it and have a good time. September, come down here, and Roger, we'll get all together and we'll have a little reunion once again.
Right on, brother.
God bless you, Owen, and keep at it.
Thank you.
God bless. And there you have it, folks. The one and only Owen Shroyer. I definitely hold Owen in high regards, and he's an original OG MAGA. Okay, he is all about being for the people, America first. Say what you want about him, and his view, you just heard it. We align a lot, and I think we have the right to be critical of this presidency. He lost his freedom for this. I lost everything. I was short. I was close to losing my freedom, but I lost other things along the way as well. I lost my father. Now I lost my nephew, and it's all for the purpose of we love this country and we just want to see the country and human beings prosper. We want to see prosperity. And I guess it comes at a cost, it'll come at a cost. And unfortunately, and I think that, people pick false idols, and people that shouldn't be their hero, or, like starting the show with Hulk Hogan, who is a hero. I'm saying, there was a guy you should have idolized because he meant so much to so many people. Owen's one of those guys where he literally has put it all out on the line, and yet has not fully ever been embraced by the very people that he put himself out on the line for. And now they are in the void where he was missing, making money. They're up in the White House. I don't even mention names, but you see it. While he still remains trying to recover from losing everything. So, but he's always, in my book, he's always going to be one of the top guys. So thank you, Owen, for being on here. Now to the producer's take.
I like the little drum roll. First of all, by the way, let me point out that when Owen came on, he described his role as being a play-by-play announcer for the Yankees and how when they're losing 4-0, he needs to call things honestly. Indirectly, I know he doesn't really watch sports, but it felt like he was pouring salt on the wound with the number 4. Why, you may ask? Because the Yankees lost last night's game by a score of 8-4 by 4 runs. They made 4 errors. They're now 4 games behind the Toronto Blue Jays for first place in the American League East. I mean, come on, dude. You didn't have to come on with a bang like that, did you?
Yeah, I didn't see that. I see the Yankees are on a slide. I don't know. They're going to need to make a trade. They need something because they should be a lot. They should be many more games ahead of the Blue Jays, who are now in first place. And in a couple of weeks, I will be there for the Marlins and the Yankees. And then 2 weeks after that, the Blue Jays come to town. And then you see the Blue Jays and the Marlins. And don't look now. The Marlins are like 6 games under 500. They were like 10, 15, or they're on fire. And the Mets won their 4th straight last night as well. So all is coming back around.
Lucky number 4, huh?
Yeah, that number 4 is the thing. And then, hey, we have 4 years of Trump. And we hopefully we have 4 years of Curtis Lewa as the mayor of New York City. So it's always 4. The 4 horsemen,
The 4 horsemen.
For life,
That's right. That's right. Well, what I really wanted to get to today is while we were preparing for the show and as we were on the air, the Magic Man. I don't want to call him that. That might be a little bit misleading, but Eric Adams, Harry the Houdini, whatever you want to call him, because we've given him a lot of nicknames here on the Sal Greco Show. He was back at it, and he decided that mocking Zoran Mamdani's video to Uganda was a good idea. So let's see what he was up to.
I'm told my opponents are leaving town, either to celebrate winning half an election or maybe write another book on failed leadership. I can think of many places I'll go to get away from y'all. Ankara, Istanbul, or Yerevan. Gonna have a good trip. But I realize I'm not a wannabe mayor. I'm the actual mayor. I can't just get up and leave. If I'm gone, there won't be an Eric Adams keeping things under control. Somebody has to keep us safe and get stuff done. Without me, the local press might actually need to report the news. What would they write? City is fine, mind your business. That won't sell at all. So I'm staying. I was born here. I spent my entire life here. So no matter what happens, Eric Adams isn't going anywhere. I'm told my opponents.
So I mean, if Pinocchio's nose could just grow by the number of lies that were told throughout that entire video, I mean, I don't even think I could sit here and look at the camera. My nose would be so long. But anyway, he said he was not allowed to get up and leave, yet he went to Las Vegas for a crypto convention. And while New York City was flooding, there was all kinds of waves and water flying down from the ceiling because of infrastructure issues in the subway. He's hanging out with Tony Delgado in Fort Lauderdale, getting all these crazy donations, which have contributed to a pretty nice war chest that we just pulled up, where he's gotten $3 million of donations from out of state. I'm curious to see if going forward, New York City makes some changes based on Eric Adams's tenure. Like if you hire multiple police chiefs and commissioners who are removed by the FBI, you shouldn't be allowed to name another one. If you get $3 million of donations from Las Vegas and Florida combined, then maybe out-of-state donations should not be a thing moving forward. It's totally unfair, and it's really unfair to the New Yorkers because they're literally the only ones allowed to vote in the election, and now it's being dictated from out of state. I don't really get that. And then all of this is happening while Eric Adams is like sinking and sinking and sinking. I mean, he's almost bottomed out at this point in the polls. I think that around 5% is where we'll actually see him bottom out. But the most recent poll shows him below 10%. He's finally at 9% compared to Cuomo at 21%, Sliwa at 19%, and then Mamdani still sits comfortably in the lead at about 40%. Some prognosticators are saying that everyone else needs to drop out and sell out for Andrew Cuomo. I don't really see the logic behind that because he lost the first time around. So how can we trust him the second? And it's a really bad situation. But no matter what, I just think that we're all kind of done with Eric Adams and his nonsense at this point. Just like go away and like do something else at this point. I'm just done with him.
Marlon Bethel said, if that video you just posted, he was describing Eric Adams last week, Eric Adams this week. I have no idea what I just watched. How much money was spent on that commercial? That's what I want to know. Because these guys love, they're such self-impressed people. Between him and Kaz Daughtry, I don't know. Like, they need to have a checks and balances of how they spend money and on what, because the taxpayers are being fleeced all over the place, whether it's the lawsuits, whether it's the way they spend the money, whether they use the budget, that they expand budget, take away, but he defunds the police to, like, I don't know, fund some dyslexia thing that he doesn't even do. So somebody's making money there. It's like this guy, it's just, I don't know what else to say. I don't know what the hell I just watched it. And he mentioned Zero Bond. The only reason he mentioned Zero Bond is because his favorite place, Con Sofrito, is not around anymore. And he can't go to Sobro Garden because people get stabbed and they're going to ask, like, your boy Jimmy, he's in handcuffs. What happened? Somebody got stabbed. I mean, you have your whole police department show up here when they shouldn't be hanging out over here. But so he can't go to Sobro Garden. But I mean, I can't believe this guy is really serious about all that stuff. I'm the mayor, all this. This guy, and by the way, there's a interview with him on Hot 97. You got to watch it because he got destroyed. They absolutely, you can tell that little low information crowd that he keeps going for, some of those people are totally getting informed now, and I had enough of him. Because you know what's the truth? And I watched the video, and this woman said, Eric Adams is doing anything. He's doing everything except his job. He's doing pull-ups. He's at the nightclub. He's over. He's at the game. Are you doing your job? Because clearly the city's on fire. He disappears when there's floods because he wants to hang out in Fort Lauderdale where the cloud chasers are. I don't know what else to say. That is unbelievable. That is going to be a classic. Classic.
It just amazes me how consistently he tries to revise what's going on. Like, people have no idea. Does he think he's smarter than everyone else? Does he think we're all stupid? Like, I would love to be inside the brain of Eric Adams just for 5 minutes to understand what he's thinking. And I've kind of sung the praises of Kayla Mamalek, his press secretary, over the past couple of weeks, but I have to criticize her for this decision, because why would you put out a video like that? Put out a video talking about something else, about how you're going to benefit the New Yorkers or the policies. I saw he gave public housing Wi-Fi yesterday and did this whole thing where he turned the internet on. Like, do something around that to try and cover up what's going on. Don't take direct shots at Zoran Mamdani when you're just fueling the fire for his campaign already. He's going to come out, and the first thing he's going to say is that Eric Adams was just mocking me and criticizing me. And then everyone's going to get behind him too. So that was an incredibly tone-deaf, stupid decision by Mamalek. But there's more, guys. That wasn't the only place with Eric Adams today. Right outside City Hall, he was asked by Josie Stratman from the New York Daily News about his straw donations from out of state, the fraudulence of some of them, and this is what he had to say.
Do you have any reaction at all to the city's straw donor story on you?
We follow all rules. Those were credit card donations. We follow all appropriate rules.
Was anything at all flagged for you? Any concerns raised before this story hit?
Actually, where is he?
How have you changed your compliance operation since the 2021 campaign? Since this was such a repeated...
Reach out to Vito Pitter, that's my attorney.
He rarely responds to anything.
Yes, he does.
I mean, but it's your campaign. How have you changed?
Reach out to Vito Pitter, that's my compliance attorney, and he does a great job on compliance.
Do you think you'll still get matching funds? I know you were hopeful you would. Does this change that?
Vito will tell you exactly what the status is.
Do you think the CFB might look at a story like this?
What did she say? What did she say?
She doesn't know about any documents.
She just knows. She just asked me. She said Ardian is here.
She's on the phone with Pattis. No, he's still here, Angel.
So clearly, Eric Adams doesn't know anything about compliance because he keeps referring Chris Summerfeld and Josie to his compliance attorney to try and get answers. This seems very non-compliant. People who either said they didn't have any money and had like credit card bills that were donating money to him, people from out of state who kind of had different addresses and they were pretending that they lived in New York City. This was a very shady situation with Eric Adams, yet somehow I'm not surprised because this seems ingrained in his DNA. Finding any way to try and stay politically relevant, even if it means leaving the own city that he was elected in to try and do so. I mean, he spent more time in the Hamptons, other portions of Long Island, Fort Lauderdale / South Florida, including a trip to Mar-a-Lago back in January, in Las Vegas than he spent campaigning in New York City. And part of his promise to people when he goes to other cities is, oh, I haven't even started campaigning yet. That's why my numbers are so low. No, give me a break. No one in New York City likes you, so you're trying to win an election with campaigns from out of state. Just call it what it is. We're not going to get mad at you. We're not going to complain. Just be honest, man. That's all.
Now, if you actually read that article, and people, if you don't want to read it, you go to the Sal Greco Show segments on YouTube, and I actually have it up. I did a video, and I actually read the full article. In that article, they called, and they requested a comment from his attorney, Vito Pita. No response. So he doesn't respond. It is true. He doesn't respond, you know. And Special Hagen here said, first off, his first comment, she says, it's crazy because he goes on about being dyslexic, but he thinks everyone else is stupid. Then she said, what was that last one? She says, is he trying to look busy and serious? And he's obsessed with his appearance as if his clothes mean he's doing the job. The emperor, new clothes. He's the emperor with no robes soon. That's what's going to happen. I mean, this is, I don't know. He is a mess. That latest article, it reads like an indictment. I'm going to be honest. That he should be indicted yet again. And let's get the ball rolling because this is a failed experiment by Trump. Your crypto thing is collapsing. The guy's he got indicted in Manhattan. That's going to go bad, even though they just got bond. They got $1 million bond for kidnapping someone. That's New York City for you folks, by the way. I don't know if you know that one. $1 million bond for someone who was kidnapped.
How many times have we said that over the past 2 weeks? So I feel like a broken record reciting that line. That article reads like an indictment. We said that when 4 chiefs accused him of cronyism. We said that when Tom Donlin filed a $10 million lawsuit accusing him of running the NYPD like a crime organization. Now we're saying it because he allegedly accepted illegal donations, and he's left a very long paper trail dating back to going on the WABC bus with John Catsimatidis. We know the type of crowds that he's been interacting with recently. So, like, this guy is a cat with a million lives. Unfortunately, though, for him, he's not winning the mayoral election this time around. And bringing this conversation full circle, because Owen did a great job talking about Trump, it would behoove Trump to distance himself as much as humanly possible from Eric Adams, because if he ends up giving Eric Adams a job in his administration or decides to associate with himself with Adams in some regard, whether it be in the crypto or real estate world, 2 areas where Adams has a lot of experience from his background as a politician, this thing could end up really combusting in Trump's face. He's in bad standing right now. He needs to be really careful with the way he's operating, and associating with the wrong people could further put him down the rabbit's hole that he's already in.
Yeah. Julius Liguera here says, if Mamdani gets booted out from the election by Trump, is there a chance Eric Adams will win re-election? That will not happen. There is no getting booted from the election, so that's not going to happen. And does Eric Adams win? The only way Eric Adams wins re-election is other 3 candidates somehow drop out. A mysterious illness, they pass away. That's the only way he wins, if he's the only guy you can vote for. Other than that, he's going to lose in a resounding manner. And Juju, who constantly is in the comments, will have no job on December 31st. So I don't know if Juju might have to take a long walk off a short pier, because he's just going to be out of a job and won't know what to do with himself. Because on December 31st of this year, Eric Leroy Adams' administration finally comes to an end. And that's, you could put a rubber stamp, not the one they do in 1PP. You could put a real rubber stamp on that one, okay? So that's all I got to say about that. Anything else, what other shows we have coming up. I know we had Executive Perspective yesterday. People should watch that again because Ron and Rob discussed the whole Tom Donilon lawsuit. So they gave you an executive perspective on that. Anything else coming up?
Yeah, they did a fantastic job last night on the Executive Perspective, and a special shout out to the 10-4 Tavern guys as well.
Yeah, they're in the chat.
Peter
Yeah.
Porcelli. Gary McCarthy was fantastic Tuesday night as their guest, former Deputy Commissioner for Operations in the NYPD. I really enjoyed hearing some of Gary's breakdown. And then tomorrow morning, live at 8:05, we'll have the guys John McCarry, Eric Dam, Marlon Bethel back for New York's finest retired and unfiltered podcast in the morning. John has been kind of posting about the latest incident with the Jacksonville Sheriff's Department. We obviously bring you guys a lot of local coverage as it pertains to New York City, which is where we're all from. But as you also know, we live in Florida now, and Jacksonville is kind of close to where John lives in Ponte Vedra, and I think we're going to hear him doing a little bit more of an in-depth breakdown on everything that took place. For those of you who didn't see, there was an incident in Jacksonville where a sheriff had to use his flashlight to smash down a window and get a suspect out of a car when he was being non-compliant, and the chief sheriff of the department came out and supported him. It's been a national story at this point. So I think the guys are going to be discussing that as well. One final point pertaining to that question about Eric Adams's chances to win. I mean, knowing how the guy has a trick up his sleeve, I'm not sure how much power Trump can necessarily buy in New York City, but I'm not going to sit here and say it's beyond Trump to pick up the phone and say, hey, how can we get Cuomo and Sliwa out of the picture here? Like, I wouldn't be surprised if he tried to leverage the situation somehow. Unfortunately, though, there's no chance that Adams would beat Mamdani in a head-to-head. That's why he didn't run against him in the Democratic primary. That's why he's running as an independent, unaffiliated with the Democratic Party. I just don't see the path to victory for Eric Adams, regardless of what you possibly do, which is why he should be the one to drop out. That's going to be my hot take for the day.
Yeah, I think Eric Adams, like I said, he's not. He has a 28% approval rating. Just remember that. Nobody ever gets elected with an approval rating like that. Trump's approval ratings have been in high 40s and 50s, and now he's actually dropping in some recent polls. But 28%, he can't win. And 69% of New York City voters said they will vote against whoever the Trump endorsed candidate is, which is Eric Adams. So once again, Juju, I feel sorry for you. But again, there's a lot of options for you come December 31st. Special Hagen said it's sad that Adams couldn't beat Mamdani. It's like losing to a corpse. LOL. Yeah, he didn't want to run. He didn't even run in that primary. He didn't run in the Democrat primary. He didn't run in the Republican primary. He knew it was going to happen. He's going to get creamed. The dream team is going to get creamed, Juju. What are you going to do then? I'm going to use the Hulk Hogan line. What you going to do when losing comes and hits you, you know? Because that's what's about to happen. So I'd like to tell everyone, I hope everybody in the chat has a great weekend. Thank you all for being in the chat. Thank you all for tuning in. Thanks for all the comments. I saw a lot of it. I couldn't get to everything because we were in a deep discussion there. Again, it's a somber day with the, Hulkamania. Now it's going to live forever, but not without the man that actually started it. And, what can I say? A piece of our childhood today vanished forever. So with that being said, of course, we're going to end it with your favorite mayor's final words, but with that being said, I'll be signing off from here in South Florida. Tune in again on coming up on Tuesday at 1:05. Again, when I'll be back on, and of course, tomorrow morning, you can watch the finest unfiltered at 8:05, where I'm sure there'll be a lot of things to talk about. So that's all here from the Sal Greco Show. So as usual, remember, that's South Florida, and I'm signing off from here. It is a sunny place for shady people.
So this is a biblical moment. When Jesus was on the cross, he said, God, forgive them, for they know not what they do. All these Negroes who are asking me to step down, God, forgive them. Are you stupid?